Good afternoon, everyone. This is Yuri Pasiwan, and I'm with my partner John Alfredson. Today we'll be discussing about kinship, descent, and marital residence. In a society, kinship, marriage, and family are the basis of social life, economic activity, and political organization. According to Kissing, the behavior and activities of people in such societies are usually kinship oriented. Thus, one of the main concerns of anthropologists in studying the ways of life is to understand the principles of kinship, marriage, and family. What is kinship? Kinship is defined as a network in which people are related to one another through blood, marriage, and other ties. It is a kind of social relationship that ties people, which is universally found in all societies. There are three types of kinship. We have the principle of consanguinity, affinity, and fictive. When we say consanguinity, individuals become related through blood. Example of this is a parent's relation to a child. You are the father, the mother, or the grandparent. We also have the relation between siblings. You are brothers and sisters. And we also have other relations like aunt, uncle, and cousins. Affinity, on the other hand, is a relationship formed through marriage. We have the relation of a husband and wife, or the relation of the husband to the wife's kin. We have your mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, and etc. Next, we have fictive kinship. Two individuals create a kind of parent-child relationship without any blood or marriage ties. Examples of this is adoption or godparenthood. We have our ninangs and ninongs. Functions of kinship. Vertical function is the binding together successive generations, thereby providing social continuity. They pass their property, political office, and tradition downwards. Horizontal function, on the other hand, is tying people together across a single generation through marriage practices. Kin groups usually practice some degree of exogamy. When we say exogamy, it is a rule which states that you must marry outside a certain group. People must normally look outside for marriage partners and create alliances which can be useful for political, economic, and ceremonial purposes. Let's move on to descent. Descent is defined as a socially recognized link between ancestors and descendants. This illustration in here will be used in the descent and kinship diagrams. These symbols and their meanings. Circle represents a female, triangle represents a male, equal sign represents a marriage, vertical line represents descent or parentage, and horizontal line represents a sibling bond. We will encounter this one in the next few slides. Functions of descent system. Descent system is for inheritance, distribution of territory, regulation of social conflict, land ownership, political representation, and ritual observance. There are two main forms of descent. We have unilineal and cognatic. First, we define unilineal, uni from the word itself, one, descent traced through parents and ancestors of only one gender, either the female or the male side. There are two basic forms of unilineal descent. We have the patrilineal and matrilineal. Patrilineal, only males pass on their family identity to their children. Like this illustration, this is a married couple and they had three children, female and two males. Pero yung tracing lang is under sa male side. Look at the colored ones. Sa female is hindi siya kasali. Sa matrilineal descent naman is a form of unilineal descent that follows the female line. Kabaliktaran naman nito ang patrilineal. Kung dito is sa lalaki silang nagtitrace, dito naman is sa female side. Look at these circles. They have the colored ones, while under the male is none. Sa matrilineal, may tinatawag tayong mother's brother. In societies with matrilineal descent, The social relationship between children and their biological father is different because the father is not a member of the matrilineal group. Instead, the formal responsibilities of the father would be assigned to the mother's brother. Gaya ng sa example natin dito is sa powerful kingdom of Ashanti ng Central Ghana. Ashantihin, or the one they recognize as their leader, will not pass through his throne to his biological son. Instead, it will be passed to his sister's son or his nephew. Let's move on to cognatic. Descent is traced through either or both parents. We have two basic forms, bilateral and ambilineal. Bilateral, from the word itself bi, which means two, takes into account descent evenly on both the male and female side. Ambilineal, on the other hand, is rather ambiguous, depending on the social benefits they get. The lineage is chosen as an individual reaches its maturity or in times of marriage. It's a mix of male and female relatives, but one is eventually chosen as primary.
Thank you, Miss Yuri, for that wonderful discussion. Good day, everyone. And for this space of discussion, we will now tackle the lineage and clans and its determinants. So, first of all, we will define what is lineage. Lineage is descent group reckoned through only one parent. It is either the father or mother. So, how does lineage determine, or what are the determinants of lineage? In scientific point of view, particularly in DNA approach, lineage-based approaches analyze DNA on the Y chromosome, which is passed down almost unchanged from fathers to son, which is the patrilineage, in which the relationship through the father are emphasized, and it is also called as agnactic. And on the other hand, if it is analyzed mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down nearly from mothers to children, then it is called matrilineage, in which the relationship reckoned through the mother are emphasized. And it also called, or also known as, uxorial. Therefore, with that, we can say that in lineage, all members of the lineages or groups trace their common ancestry to a single person. And a lineage may comprise any number of generations, but commonly it is traced through some 5 or 10 only. Furthermore, lineages may be divided and subdivided into smaller segments, which are called segmentary lineages, and it is a common form in Africa. So lineages constructed on a basis of acknowledged descent lines occur in various sizes according to their generational depth, ranging from small, shallow lineages made up of a descendants of a single living grandfather or great-grandfather to extensive systems with histories of several dozen generations, including thousands of members. In some cases, especially where there is substantial depth, larger units are subdivided into smaller components through a process of branching, or which we call segmentation. This arrangement involves the successive formation of smaller groups from parent lineages. Thus, there is a single maximal lineage at the highest level of the system, which is divided into two or more branches or segments, which are in turn divided and redivided in a regularly recurring process. The number of branches at each point of division is dependent upon the number of sons or daughters attributed to the previous ancestors. The number of levels is also theoretically unlimited. For further understanding, we will use the newer segmentary lines diagram, wherein we can see in the picture that the grandfather or pinakang ancestor is the maximal, and then the secondary depth is the sons or daughter of the ancestors. And then once the sons of the ancestors gave birth to children, this is now the tertiary level or depth of lineage. And when the parents of the tertiary lineages gave birth to children again, it is now considered as only a minimal segmentary lineage. And from the pace of secondary and tertiary, it is considered as a major segmentary. And from below the major segmentary, which is the minimal level of lineages, it is considered as a minor segmentary lineages only. For further understanding of Muir's diagram, here are the supporting characteristics of segmentary lineages. So first of all, the descent line, wherein based on the diagram, we can see that the I represent as the hypothetical ancestor, which is the founder of the entire group. And the founder and the A and B represents as the sons or the two sons or children of the founder. And each each of whom serves as a focal point for the division of the larger unit to smaller subgroups. And that process is reiterated as A and B have two sons each, which represent the triangle 1, triangle 2, and triangle 3 and 4, who in turn have two sons and so on. And that is where the descent process sets up a plan for the formation of a series of nested descent groups. After knowing the descent lines, we will now go to the process of segmentations, wherein all the descendants of I or the founder of the group are included in a maximal lineage, which means that the 4 generations deep, which will most likely bear the founder's name. Whereas the A and B define two segments which partitions the maximal lineage members according to the two divergent descendant lines. And this process is repeated in successive generations until minimal lineages, usually extended family households, are included. After knowing the segmentations, it is now have a group membership, which is from an individual's participant's perspective. The system can be viewed as a series of ever more inclusive groups. Thus, it is a member of 4 group, which is a minimal segment A, a minor segment 1, a major segment A, and a maximal segment I, which is the founder. And each groups has a different scope and sets of functions. Here is also an example of lineage and segmentary lineage. So, have you watched the movie Encanto? If not, from that movie, we can see the bloodline of the Madrigal from their ancestor or the founder to the newest lineage of the family. In this diagram, we can consider that the founder is their grandmother who lost her husband, and we can consider that as a maximal lineage. And from that, the grandmother gave birth to 3 children, which we can consider as a major segment. And then 2 of them was able to marry a man, and then they have children, which we can consider now as a minor segment, and so on. Therefore, all of them was most likely to bear their founder's name, which is their grandmother's name. And then the 2 married daughters define 2 segments which partition the maximal lineage members according to the 2 divergent descent lines. And now we will move to the clan. So first of all, what is clan? So clan usually contain a number of lineages. It is also the members will often rank internal lineages according to their seniority, with the lineages believed to be closest in direct descent from the clan's founder ranked highest. So what are the determinants of clan? So that is groups whose members trace descent from a common ancestor through known genealogical links or from our genes. Apart from that, we can also consider that the family Madrigal is a clan because it contains a number of lineages and they also have a common ancestral genes. And now we will move to the patrilocality, matrilocality, and avunculocal. So first of all, patrilocality is found usually in societies that have patrilineal descent, which is when descent is traced only through male ancestors to their offsprings. Because the husband is able to remain in his childhood setting while the wife is taken away from hers. Patrilocality gives the husband's family more authority. Or in other words, it is when a married couple resides with or near the husband's parents. The concept of location may extend to a larger area such as a village, town, or clan territory. On the other hand, when we say matrilocality, it is when a woman remains in her mother's household after reaching maturity and brings her husband to live with her family after marriage. Sons conversely move out of their natal household after marriage to join their wife's husband. So, from that two, patrilocality and matrilocality, one of the factors that I observe here in our society or in reality that sometimes the couple do not tend to move from their parents because due to the lack of work, lack source of their source of income was also lacking. That's why they only have a choice to stay with their parents in order for them to have a shelter na matutuluyan. So, ayun. And then we will move to the avunculocal. When we say avunculocal, it is defined as a located at or centered around the residence of the husband's maternal uncle. This is where one in which a married couple traditionally lives with the man's mother's eldest brother, which most often occurs in matrilineal societies. This pattern generally occurs when a man obtains his status, his job role, or his privileges from their nearest elder matrilineal male relative. That we will now end our discussion, and thank you guys for listening, and I hope you do acquire some information about our report. Thank you again.